Hello, friends, and welcome to another edition of the show. I'm your host, and today I'm talking to someone who doesn't just break records. This guy systematically just redesigns entire systems. Mario Castillo, Chancellor and CEO of Lone Star College System. Welcome to the show, friend.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
This is a guy, folks, that took a college system and turned it into really Houston's economic powerhouse. We're talking bajillion, maybe billion, right? Annually. And at the same time, he's competing in these Ironman races. And if you don't know what that is, just you better Google it because your eyes are gonna Google out. And he does it for fun, right? I, just an extraordinary individual. And then I think there's this doing overly ambitious home improvement projects. We want to dig into that as well. So that's the first question that I want to ask you, boss. When you tackle these home improvement disasters or projects, whatever you want to call them, do you approach them like a business problem with spreadsheets and here's how it just needs to go and
No,
blueprinting, or
not at all.
what's your
In fact,
approach?
it's the complete opposite, actually. That's where I go to get away, right? And so it's the complete opposite. I actually am winging it as I go along, which is why they take so long because I learned the hard way, right? My dad used to say in Spanish, the best way to learn is making mistakes. And so I'll tell you, like even my most current project is I was building a pond in my backyard. And I had to learn the hard way after a month of digging the hole out with a shovel that the walls kept collapsing. And so
Okay.
then I had to say, okay, there has to be some way to like keep the walls from collapsing on me. And then I had to build that out. And so there's a lot of sort of starting and stopping and starting over and start. No, it's not planned in any way. Really sort of between AI and I, we wing it.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So you completed Ironman Texas,
I
and
did.
you're working on your run right now because you got something else up your sleeve. Okay, for folks, it's not just an endurance race; it's logistics. It's 2.4 mile swim, right? It's a 112-mile bike. Most people wouldn't, drive that far without a McDonald's stop, right? And then a 26.2-mile run. They call that a marathon. Okay, so you're systematically breaking all of that down as well, or are you winging that, boss?
No, that I can tell you that was very, very. It took me about 2 years. So let me start with this. I didn't know how to swim. And I mean at all. I was fearful of the water. And so the reason that I started doing training for Ironman is my kids and my wife, they're all swimmers and they love going to the pool. And I would always hang back because all of my childhood pool experiences involved getting saved, getting hooked. And so I had a lot of trauma around swimming. And I said, I've got to learn how to swim because it's a safety issue for my children. When I need to be able to go to the pool with them, I want to enjoy the beach. And so I said, what is the craziest thing that I could sign up for to force myself to learn how to swim? And so I signed up for Ironman and then I started taking swim lessons. And so, no, it took about 2 years of very intentional, and I'll tell you now, people ask me if I'll do it again. I take it so seriously that it's the training that really I can't do. The actual day, I mean, you're a three-timer, I believe. The actual day is amazing. It's singular. You really can't describe what it's like to do an Ironman. But the training leading up to it, that's not fair to my wife. I have two small children, and she has a shirt that says I survived my husband's Ironman training. And so she really did, because you basically disappear when you're as unfit as I am to be able to sort of do something like that.
So my assumption, because I'm not a swimmer, I swim like a Labrador, a big 100-pound Labrador in the water, just bloosh, bloosh, bloosh. But if you do that with persistence, you get to the end, and then you can do what you do. So swimming is my worst. What's your worst of the three disciplines?
It's funny because it's changed over those 2 years. Obviously, swimming was just I was fearful. I mean, it took me 3 months to be able to swim at 25 when I first started. Now I would say it's probably the running. Ironically, because running is what I did to begin with, right? Like a great deal of triathletes, I started off running, then I hurt myself, and so then I had to do cycling to rehabilitate, basically. Then I said I got the run and the bike. Now let me learn how to swim. And so now, if I had to rank them, I would say I'm actually a better swimmer than I am the other two.
Wow. That is transformational, dude. It's
Yeah, well,
absolutely
I had,
transformational.
like, an actual coach, and I took formal lessons, and I was a blank slate because I had no bad habits to unlearn or anything like that, and so, technically, my swimming is now my best, sport for sure as a technical level.
Right there, I think is a leadership lesson. Sometimes we just get into things and it becomes just metronomic and muscle memory, and it's the wrong way,
Yeah,
right? And how we the discipline of unlearning, but bringing somebody in that's never had those experiences. There's so much leadership transfer between endurance racing, right? And yeah, leading a 90,000 plus student campus system.
yep,
My my guess, my
yeah, no,
guess.
and running is where I'm having to unlearn a lot of stuff because you just start running and you figure, "I know what I'm doing," but you don't, not when you're putting, 40, 50, 60 miles in a week. You've gotta really learn how to run the right way.
So, first generation American, first to
Yes, sir.
college.
Yes, sir.
No Nintendo system growing up or anything
I
like
know.
that?
We were always, it's funny, we were always at least 1 or 2 systems behind in my house. So when
Mhm.
all the other kids had, for example, Sega, I was just getting a Nintendo, right? I didn't even get Super Nintendo. I got Nintendo. And so I was always about 2 consoles behind. So no, we grew up very, very poor. Both of my parents are immigrants, minimum wage jobs, worked incredibly hard, did the very absolute best that they could. And and one generation later, my mother didn't even go to high school, and my daughter can really go wherever she wants. And I think that's a testament to the American dream and how great this country is.
Yeah, others would see it as a disadvantage. You saw clearly it was just a data point for you to solve.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's not about not having the resources, it's teaching how to find and build systems to, from scratch, like learning how to swim from nothing, nada.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Yes.
sir.
Wow. Wow. So you're the first Hispanic chancellor at Lone Star,
I am.
50-year history. They've been around for a half a century.
Yep.
Um, that's not just representation. I think it's strategic positioning as well. How would you argue with me?
No, I wouldn't. Most of our students here are Hispanic. We are a Hispanic serving institution. Most of our population is Hispanic. In fact, I can tell you that in certain campuses, we have 8 main campuses essentially, and one of our 2 or 3 of our campuses, you have more than 40, 50% of the student populations are Latino or Hispanic. And so yeah, and I was actually the first Latino president, because I was a president before I was the chancellor, and then before that I was a chief legal officer as well as a COO. And so that's a responsibility that I take incredibly seriously, because I'm the first.
We do have drone footage of you actually sitting down and working with students on campus. A chancellor sitting down and doing career planning with students. Where does that come from?
You know,
When do you have time for that?
I always got time for students, right? And that's the thing. That's one of the really big ethos that I'm trying to sort of introduce at this college. Like the entire reason that we work here is to help students, right? Our new mission statement is to help students get from where they are to where they want to be.
Oh, so
So
good.
each
So
of
good.
us,
That's it? You don't have 3 sentences that just drone on and on and on?
I mean, it's one sentence. If you want the whole thing, it's Lone Star College will offer transformational educational opportunities that get students from where they are to where they want to be.
I like the first one better. Say it again.
We are here to help students get from where they are to where they want to be. And
Boom.
so I can tell you that when you look at our logo, when you look at the Lone Star logo, the Star of Tomorrow, there's a swoosh across the star. And that's the representation on our logo is getting students from where they are to where they want to be. And so that's a responsibility that we all carry. And so even as the chancellor, if I can make time for students, and I expect those in my employ to also make time for students.
I'm just writing down that's the best mission statement I think I've seen from a campus. Most
Oh,
of
well, thank
them,
you.
like I said, option B is you have to take 3 breaths while you read the whole thing. I
That's
love
how it started.
1 breath statements, folks. Hear that, everybody. Unless you have a 1 breath statement, you don't have a mission statement. I'm just feeling kinda bold today. So, Texas Supreme Court attorney, and you woke up one morning and said, "I think I wanna move into the public sector of education." Did you eat some bad lasagna the night before? Did
Uh,
anybody just stop you and go, "Hey, Mario, are you okay?"
No, so look, this is how it happened. So I am a board certified labor and employment attorney here in the state of Texas. I maintain my law license and my board certification. And so I was doing a lot of work for Lone Star. Lone Star was actually one of my clients. And so at some point, when the former chancellor became the former chancellor, there was a vacancy for the chief legal officer. And Lone Star was already one of my major clients, and I was here all the time. And so the chancellor, I think, very astutely said, why don't I just hire you in house? And so I actually took over as a chief legal officer back in 2015. And little by little, I got other duties as assigned until I got all the duties right as the chancellor. And so it was really sort of, I really believe in the mission and I really believe in our institution. So I didn't come to work in higher ed. And I'll be quite honest with you, I have no interest in working in higher ed. I have an interest in working at Lone Star. And that is a fundamental difference, I think, between me and a lot of leaders. And so that's part of where some would argue my recklessness or my innovation comes from, because I'm not thinking about, can I get a job at a university or can I go work in this other state? Like, I would be perfectly happy if my higher ed career begins and ends only having worked at Lone Star, no matter what the future holds.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I don't see you at all the events. I don't see you at all the elbow rubbing, just the pageantry. I don't because there's enough work for you to be done and you're modeling so many things locally that maybe there's a twist, a pivot that needs to happen where people ought to be just showing up on your campuses to see how innovation is really run. I mean, while other colleges right now they're hemorrhaging students, you hit 91,000 plus.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Yep. So
that's not luck. Some would say, well, it's a windfall. You got lucky.
I'd say both people are right, right? So we're in an area of town that's really sort of growing, but we also and so when you just look at enrollments, yes, it's sometimes it can be a byproduct of just geography. But what the numbers that I'm prouder of, other than our enrollments, our retention is record high. So we're holding on to the students that are coming here, and we're also graduating at a faster rate than we ever have. And so not only are we getting the students, but we're able to hold on to them and we're able to graduate them. And I can tell you that, yeah, you won't see me at those events for the most part because I'm a practitioner, right?
Mhm.
I like to get in there and sort of we have people that we send to those conferences and you'll see sort of our folks and then they bring back sort of the ideas. But it's really important for me as a practitioner. I was a COO before I was the chancellor. And so for me, I know that we have what we need to fix our problems here. And also because we're so unique, really, when you go to conferences like that, one of the things that I caution sort of either junior executives or people on my team is just remember, just because an idea works at X college doesn't mean it's going
Right.
to work here. We
So
have our own unique culture, our own unique structure, our own unique history, our own unique challenges, our own unique strengths, and sometimes things that work at other colleges marvelously just won't work here.
yeah, best practice. I say best practice. That'll keep you stuck because you stole it from someplace else, and it doesn't probably doesn't contextualize within your practice. So do better practices. Better practices are better than best practice. Come
Yeah.
on.
Yeah. And so really, yeah, so we have grown 13.4% in students since I became the chancellor. And actually, today's my 2-year anniversary, by the way, August 14th, which is when we're recording this, is when I became the chancellor 2 years ago. And so tomorrow actually would be the start of my third year. And so over the last 2 years, we've grown 13% in enrollments. And again, our retention is what I'm most proud of. We've really sort of grown our retention numbers. More of our students are coming back. And look, just as a non-higher ed person, everyone who's ever done sales knows that it's cheaper to keep a customer than to get a new one.
Yeah.
But in
No, you
higher
look at
ed,
just the demand and the bottom line of profitability. If you can keep what you currently have, you don't have to go spend time and inertia hustling the next batch, right?
and so in higher ed, unfortunately, we're so enrollment based that we kind of forget that. But I can tell you that a lot of our enrollment growth is retention, where students are sort of coming back. I'm really proud of that.
Yeah, and as a practitioner as well, and sales, if you can identify the problem, you can sell the solution. And you've identified the enrollment problem not as enrollment; it's life barriers, right? It's
Correct.
it's, it's
Yeah.
transportation, it's food, it's internet access, it's So what have you done specifically to kind of melt away some of those barriers as an
So
institution?
let's start with one of the most basic needs, right? When you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, food, right? People are hungry. If you're hungry, you can't learn, you can't study, you can't function. Food and shelter, right? And so we offer food scholarships. I'm very proud of that. So we are, I think, one of the first institutions in the country to offer a food scholarship where donors will actually donate, just like they would for tuition and fees, money to a food scholarship. And so we have endowed scholarships for food. And so students now can essentially apply for food scholarships so they get the tuition and fees and their food. We also have invested $1 million over the next 4 years in our own food pantries and care centers. And here's a remarkable stat from that. We track sort of who comes to these and what their rates are. We have a 98% persistence rate for students that use our food pantries. So that means that they 98% of those students hung in there with us. And when you really think about who these students are, these are the poorest of the
Yeah.
poor,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? These are the poorest students have a 98 persistence rate from one semester to the other. It tells you that we're on the right track.
Well, you look at the lucky and leading framework, back to being a leader in so many areas. You look at where you're performing well and the antecedents or how that is happening, and you can just, okay, that's one causal effect. It's not even corollary, it's causal. Those that are hanging out there are finishing with us. So let's put that in the copy machine and just keep pushing it over and replicating that. And then you move on to the next one. You're a system leader. It shows, it shines. And that can be replicated as well. You can teach people how to build systems, but you first have to be a system builder and a leader, right? You can't steal that from a conference. You got to do it locally.
You got to do it. And we spend a remarkable amount of time figuring out what the problem is. See, a lot of people in higher ed, they jump to the solutions and then they're just rotating solutions without really understanding what is the problem that we're trying to solve. And we engage in design thinking of, okay, let's try 3 or 4 different solutions at a very prototype stage without a whole lot of investment. Once we have a good handle on what works, at least at that stage, then we invest more. And I'm talking about everything from space allocation to how we allocate dollars. Everything gets tested and
Hmm.
everything is guided to what is helping students the most. And now, what I borrowed from the 4 disciplines of execution, we have a very clear scoreboard as to what it means to win, right? How do we know that an initiative is working? Because, like most higher ed, everyone has a pet sort of initiative, right? And how do we determine whose pet is the superior pet?
Right, right.
We've done a lot of work internally on mapping all of that out.
So, yeah, we can pause if this is the wrong channel, but 40x institutions oftentimes pull that thing off the shelf and go, "We're a 40x campus," and they talk 40x, 40x, 40x. And I pushed against that to say, as a high achieving executive group, what does 40x do? It teaches you how to execute, which is a competency of leadership. So instead of just being beholden to, and I'm nothing against 40x, it's a fantastic system, but it's also a proprietary system.
It is.
But when you can take that and you can take the better practices from that and make it your own, and then you do you, right? And you do your system, that's when you get a golf clap from me. But I'm not going to give you a golf clap if you're just doing somebody else's proprietary program.
Yep, yep. No, and that's the thing. We have to do the work, right? Fundamentally, that's where when we don't really hire a whole lot of consultants, to be honest with you, because again, we don't want to. I need to send the message to the institution. We're going to do the work. We are accountable for making sure that these deliverables are met, not outside folks, because we are the ones that are inside. So when we get things like that, we always sort of, okay, this is the starting point. How do we mold it into our culture? How do we build around it? And so, for example, when you look at sort of the scoreboard, we're still defining what the scoreboard is for a lot of our goals. But how that scoreboard is defined is largely the work product of internal mechanics rather than sort of outsourcing that. But we again, I don't think anything bolting on works. It never works. It never works. So I wouldn't even give him a golf clap, to be honest with you.
Okay, nothing bolt on works. No golf claps for
No,
anything
nothing.
bolt
Yeah,
on.
it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. People people have to feel like you're invested, right? Going back to the question you asked earlier, when people see me hanging out with students, it sends a certain message that Chancellor cares about students. It's not just something that we're slapping on sort of LinkedIn. Another thing that you'll never see from me on LinkedIn, which is very unusual, you'll never see me with pictures of students or posting my interactions with students, because I never want a student to feel like I'm interacting with them for the gram, as they say, right?
Yeah.
For social
Yeah.
media. I want our connection to be real and genuine, and so and deep.
The
And so
man, the man on the internet is a
the man,
righteous
you know,
man. Yeah.
I don't even represent myself as the
The man
chancellor.
on the internet. I read
I'm
that and
just
I
the man
go,
on the internet, right?
bizarre but brilliant. Bizarre but brilliant. So let's. I wish we had more time. Maybe two more questions. So let's. Community colleges are they're sometimes just positioned as backup plans,
Mhm.
right? It's a brand problem. How are you looking at that differently? I need to
Yeah.
get inside of your head to think brand marketing, business positioning for community colleges.
Yeah. So when you look at sort of if you unfortunately education in a lot of ways has become commoditized. So when you look at sort of commodities, here's where I think, and I don't just say these things, I really feel it. I think community college education is the best value education in the country. When you think about the idea that at Lone Star, for example, we have course caps now of 28. So there's 28 students in a class. You pay about $1,200 for in-district tuition. So you get a full load for about 1,200 bucks. And really with $1,300 now, it includes your books. So you can come somewhere where a professor will know your name, will know your story, will interact with you, will teach you. I believe that our faculty are just as strong as anyone at a major university, but they choose to work at Lone Star because they believe in our mission. And I believe that when you have really high, almost elitist enrollment standards, and it doesn't take a whole lot to get really elite students from point A to point B. But when you take students that don't believe in themselves,
Mm,
that maybe it's they're the first person to ever go to college,
right.
or it's their second or third chance, or they sacrifice for their families and in their 30s or 40s are coming back to school. It is a tremendous act of courage to step up to one of our counters and say, I want more than I have. And what
Mm,
I'm really proud about community colleges is that we jump into that void. We don't care if your parents are rich. We don't care if they have name recognition. We don't care about anything. All we care about this is at this institution and most community colleges is, do you want better than what you have? And we deliver that at the lowest cost in the country. And so I don't see, and you feel it when you talk to me, I hope about community college. I don't see community colleges as less than. And a lot of colleges are running away from this moniker of community college. What's wrong with being the community's college? The people that support us, the taxpayers, the business owners, I want to be our community's college. I don't want to be anybody else's college. I want to service our community. And so that's how I fight it. I'm very proud of the fact that we take everyone and anyone, because education shouldn't be elitist and education should be available to everyone who wants more than what they have.
I'm calling Kickstarter right now. We're going to get you a spot during the Super Bowl. That that has me wanting to enroll right now. Right now.
Thank you.
Okay, final question. This is so good. I wish we had more time. But you've proven the barriers are there to be broken through. They're not permanent. Okay, they're problems to solve. That's been your life mantra. So somebody may be looking in right now through their own obstacles, thinking impossible. What's your framework for turning those limitations into just a competitive advantage? What's your little pep talk here, Coach?
Yeah. So look, I think that, let me first speak as a child of immigrants, which is the first thing that I always am, and the thing that I will always be, no matter what happens and how many titles I get. The way that I always sort of looked at it is the gift of the opportunity was the gift from my parents. What I do with that opportunity is my gift back. And as an immigrant or a first generation, anything I can tell you that, and I've posted about this on LinkedIn. When as an immigrant or a first gen anything, your parents tell you all of our sacrifices were worth it. It's singular.
Mm.
No diploma, no honors, no board certifications, no chancellorships, nothing comes close to the feeling that gives you. And so what I would say, and I get to witness this feeling year after year at graduation, which is my favorite day of the year, you see people just bawling on both
Mm,
sides, right? Parents that sacrifice so much for their kids. Sometimes the parents are the ones graduating and it's the kids in the audience. And what I would say is, I was the first person to go to college in my family. But after I went to college and I showed a lot of my cousins, my siblings, I was by far not the last. And I think that that's really what we have to think of it as pioneers, and being pioneers is hard,
yeah.
whether it's the American West, new continents, new world, or the academic space. To be a pioneer is hard, but think of all the beautiful things that you can build when you overcome. And I can tell you that in my life, it's been incredibly worth it. And I think that that's what we're here to do at Lone Star, to offer transformational opportunities to our students, again, to get from where they are to where they want to be.
Mm, yeah, I see you as just the emulation of the faith, hope, and love story. You know, you've proven that the best leaders, they don't just climb ladders, because you're not a ladder climber. You said it yourself. I'm not a ladder climber. I come to serve where people need me to serve. But you engineer better ladder systems for those that need them to break through. Yeah, you're changing family trees, no doubt. I wish we had more time, but folks, that's the show today. And if you're not thinking systematically about your next big challenge right now, you are missing the point. And a delight to spend time with a maven of all things systems. So, Mario, thank you for
Oh,
joining
thank
us
you so
today.
much for having me. It's an honor. Um, I'm very privileged to be in this position.
Yes, yes, that is the right mindset, isn't it? So here's the action framework for everybody out there. Share the episode. This one is definitely shareable. Um, if you're a leader in education, you're going to want to study Lone Star, and it's lonestar.edu. Is that
That's right.
go check that out and take a picture of that mission statement, and seriously make that. Use your own words, please, but make it your own in terms of the essence of that. And if you're facing barriers, stop seeing problems and start seeing those systems to redesign. So take one strategic insight from this little jam session today and build a system around it this week. That's your challenge. Peace, friends.